Hello, and welcome to the Macaw Podcast Universe. My name is Micah.
I'm Jordan.
And we are brought to you by franchises. We're coming at you hot with all the franchises, trilogies or more, and diving in deep on what's good, what's bad, what we personally like, what we personally hate.
And today, it's Ant-Man.
This
is wrapping up phase 2
of Marvel.
Okay.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this phase, and then we're going to do another series, which we've talked about in the previous episode, but I'll tease it and wait till the end on this one. And then we're going to finish up and do Marvel Phase 3, and then we'll have been caught up. And, you know, a side note, I don't know that we've ever mentioned this, but series that we cover, a good example would be Marvel. Whenever they come out, when they come out with new editions, we're going to cover those as well as soon as we can.
Yes.
So we might be in the middle of some other series, and then all of a sudden you're going to see Avengers 18 pop up on your feed, and instead of the regularly scheduled program. So, you ready to dive in?
Yeah.
You got to get small for this one, because it's Ant-Man. So, do you want to... I will start. I was going
to say you should start. You got a lot to cover.
I got a lot to cover. So, this is directed by Peyton Reed, and we'll revisit some of these people when you hit them. It's produced by the one and the only, the KF. I'm talking Kevin Feige. Screenplay by Edgar Wright, Joe Cornish, Adam McKay, and Paul Rudd.
Didn't know about Adam McKay.
Yeah, yes, I got stuff on that so we can learn more. But Adam McKay, you'll recognize from The Big Short, the other guys. Step Brothers. Anchorman.
We're doing a quarter of my notes already.
Yeah, and then Joe Cornish, you'll recognize from Adventures of Tintin,
It's
Attack
another
the Block.
Small portion of my notes.
Yeah, do you want me not to do
No,
this?
you can. No,
okay.
you can.
Oh, okay. And then, of course, Edgar Wright is, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Baby Driver.
So much of my notes. No, I hope that everyone knows Edgar Wright.
Yeah, if
just
not,
by mention of name.
You really should.
Scott Pilgrim, one of the best movies of all time. Not an exaggeration. If you have not watched it, go watch it. And then you're welcome, because that will be a movie for the rest of your life, that if you're just scrolling through Netflix and you're like, oh my gosh, Scott Pilgrim's on, you'll watch it almost every time.
And it's that has this really interesting Captain America Chris Evans performance that's very funny.
Yeah, it's funnier now that he since all of Captain America.
That movie, we've talked about this. That movie has this insane cast, but they weren't really that popular yet.
Yes.
So when you watch the movie now, you're like, that person, that person, that person. It's really fun. Music by Christoph Beck, who did Frozen, American Made, Trolls, and Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, which does go down in history as the worst title ever for a movie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, too.
Is
that a book?
I think so.
Okay.
And it's a terrible book title, too. Cinematography is Russell Carpenter. He did Titanic.
Okay.
This Means War, and the original, well, kind of original because it's based off a TV show, but Charlie's Angels.
Pass. Keep going, please. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. The movie came out July 17th, 2015. And then box office, the movie makes $180,202,163, and worldwide it makes $519,311,965.
Wait, how much did it cost?
I just am looking through, and I didn't have that, so I'm trying to see.
It's a lot of money it made.
Production costs.
I remember the advertising being pretty good.
So it had a budget around $162 million. Oh no, that's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ugh. Let's see. Here we go. Calculating. I'm running the numbers now. Budget $130 to $169 million. So
I made a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's not actually. I mean, it only.
Small profit for a small character.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is crazy to say that's small.
Yeah.
The character, I mean.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I don't know if I followed you on that one. When I listen back, I'll be like, oh, okay. It'll have sunk in by then, hopefully. So originally, Stan Lee, the creator of most of these characters, pitched an idea of Ant-Man in the 80s to New World Pictures, but Disney was working on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, so it didn't happen.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and then later, in 2000, Howard Stern attempted to purchase film rights. So
Howard
he was
Stern?
interested in doing it.
Okay.
And now this is where it gets a little unbelievable.
You mean the America's
radio...
Got Talent judge?
Yeah,
Howard
yes, I forgot
Stern.
he did that, yeah.
Interesting. He was like the Randy of America's Got Talent.
Yeah, he was the Yo Dogger of then.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy, actually. That works. He is the Randy.
I feel like he was pretty neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy to please. But he would say no occasionally.
Yeah.
Only when the algorithm made sense, though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You want to get into your theory
No.
about that show? Okay.
No.
So in 2003, so 12 years before this movie comes out, Edgar Wright and Joe Cornish pitch to Artisan a burglar take on the Ant-Man character, where he's a burglar.
Love it.
Then in 2004, they pitch it to Kevin Feige.
Whoa.
So this is before there's even Iron Man.
Wow.
Then in 2006, Marvel hired Wright to direct and write with Cornish. So
2006.
In 2008, the first draft of the movie was done. So that's the year Iron Man comes out.
Yeah.
So this has been a long time.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's been passionate. He wants this character. He's got an idea.
Sorry, go back. So Stan Lee was trying to like get a movie made
in the 80s.
But this character, do you know like when this character was created?
Long time ago.
Okay.
He's like in the 60s at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then apparently, since he wasn't a huge director, Feige wasn't concerned with getting it done fast. Hence the they hired him in 2006, and then the first draft's done in 2008.
Okay.
And during those periods, Edgar Wright's also working on other projects. So I think he's getting sidetracked. The one and only Joseph Gordon-Levitt was considered for Ant-Man.
Okay. Actually, okay.
Yeah. And then, May 23rd, 2014, Wright was announced to leave the project. And he said, I wanted to make a Marvel movie, but I don't think they really wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie.
Huh. Makes you even more curious as to what the movie would have been like.
I know. So then at one point in the movie, while he's working on the draft, Marvel wanted to do a draft without him while he was still the director, but he writes all of his movies, and he was like, no.
Yeah.
He felt like he was becoming a director for hire, and it wasn't a passion project anymore.
You know what's crazy about this? Is I mean, he's very different from James Gunn.
Uh-huh.
Very different. But I think that they are pretty similar in some ways, too.
Yeah.
And I think that James Gunn is the success story of that.
Yeah.
Because Guardians is a passion project. I don't know his history like with the actual comics and stuff. Like I don't know if he was lobbying to be the director hardcore or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that like James Gunn got Guardians. He got to do pretty much what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
In the first Guardians. But and then the second one, like they gave him even more liberty.
Yeah.
And then he gets fired, and people are like freaking out because it's like it's not only a Marvel movie, it's a James Gunn movie.
Yeah. And
Edgar Wright didn't get that chance because I feel like it would have been the same thing. Does that make sense?
I totally get that.
What a bummer.
So he felt like it was becoming a director for hire situation, not a passion project.
Yeah.
Which a lot of these movies do. So in this phase, especially,
we just watched one. It's called
like,
Ant-Man.
Yeah, but like Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
And not Avengers, but I guess that's the only one in this one that really feels like it's kind of just what like anyone could have directed it. Like it doesn't have a style to it.
Civil War feels that way to me.
Well, we're not there yet, so we
I know,
can't talk
but it
about
still
that.
feels that way to me.
But when he left the project, most of his crew left the project for support as well. Kind of interesting. So then by May 30th, we're still in 2014.
Wait, 2014 was when he was let go?
That's when he left.
That's so soon to... So they were like really working on the movie.
Yeah. So then by May 30th, Adam McKay, this is a quote from Wikipedia, had entered negotiations to replace Wright. But he pulled out of negotiations the next day out of respect for Wright, who he was friends with. On June 7th, Marvel announced that Peyton Reed would direct the film, with McKay contributing to the film's script. McKay felt this was the perfect result since he would not be replacing Wright, but was able to help Rudd, who was also his friend.
Okay.
So then Rudd...
Good on Adam, man.
Yeah.
Trying to save face and be a good friend, but also get a little bit of a paycheck, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the other kind of weird thing is, in the grand scheme of the Marvel, like we have 2 movies back to back that have troubled productions.
Uh-huh.
So, and where the director's upset. And I remember not being a fan of Marvel at the time. I remember being like, oh, this is like the downfall. Like, this is how this story begins. This is the downfall. Like, everything's going to start going down. People aren't going to like these movies. And then when I watched Ant-Man, I was like, okay, I'm correct. These are going to start sucking. But then I think in Phase 3, they're able to make that adjustment and make the movies a little bit more stylized and let the director have more control.
I think so, too. I agree.
Not that some of the others did, but now, especially in Phase 3, as we'll go through, a lot of the movies are like very distinct.
Well, I wonder what the franchise would be like without Guardians.
As a whole?
As a whole. Because I feel like Guardians was...
That like broke the boundary.
And I know people would probably disagree with this. People who may have more experience with the comics and stuff. But like, I feel like Guardians was the first original feeling... just original movie out of all of them.
Yeah.
Original, you know about it, what I mean when I say original. Yeah. And also just like... I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of losing my train of thought. But
like that one like broke the mold of what had been.
Risk.
Yeah, because the other ones had taken risks, but then they like they were able to kind of perfect that formula.
Yeah.
And so then like the formula's working, and then it's kind of like Guardians breaks the formula, and then with the next phase you have like the Spider-Man movies that have like a high school drama feel. You have Black Panther, which has all these like black rights issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Then you have Guardians 2, which is just
Guardians
crazier
2,
than the first one. Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok is crazy. And even to some extent, like Doctor Strange has a lot of like visually crazy stuff.
I would agree with that.
So while it sucks that we don't get to see the Edgar Wright movie, maybe we're better for it, the universe as a whole. Because I think it helped provide some creativity. But I'm still going through this. There's a lot more. Rudd elaborated on, and this is a quote from Rudd, the idea, the trajectory, the goal, and the blueprint of it all is really Edgar and Joe. It's their story. We changed some scenes. We added new sequences. We changed some characters.
They took out the whole heist element.
New
probably.
Characters. If you took the 2 scripts and held them up together, they'd be very different. But the idea is all theirs. Wright had not... I did. So he didn't have someone named Janet Van Dyne in the movie. I don't know who that is. And he didn't have the Quantum Realm or a fight with the Avenger. So he didn't have any of those things in their script. And then... So that's the Edgar Wright thing. So... Beyond that, there's even a little more interest to the movie.
Okay.
Now, this is more just in the production element of it. So this movie has a 1:85 ratio, and they...
What does that mean? Visually? I don't get how... You don't even know what that means. Does anyone know what that means?
Well, it's 1...
Is it because he's so small?
Yeah, it's 1 across 85 high.
This still doesn't tell me what that means. Every time someone says it or I read it in a book, it's like, I'm also really bad at math. So it's more like that than anything. But I'm just like, I trust that there is actual meaning behind this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember right now. I'll be honest. I feel like an idiot. But
don't feel like an idiot. I think it's confusing.
Yeah. Well, I tried to get into... I mean, I remember in the Avengers episode, the first one, I really got into aspect ratios. And it makes sense, but to me, I kind of need the examples next to them.
Does that mean like the depth?
No, this is the size of the screen.
Okay.
So it would be one across, and then like 0.85 up. So if it was like a 1-to-1 ratio, it'd be a square that we'd be seeing. So that's if it was like a.
So this movie's almost very square.
I think so. I think that's what that means.
Okay.
I'm open to being wrong on this, everybody. But
I also am not I'm not.
I know. You're like just asking. But I what stinks is I took these notes probably 3 weeks ago, maybe even 4.
Oh, so you just forgot.
And I forgot what point I was trying to make with that. So I was just saying it and hoping I could zoom past
Caught
it.
you.
And then you caught me.
1 to 85 just sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it's because I don't know what it is.
Well, while I'm talking, why don't you look up what like a sitcom aspect ratio is?
Okay.
Just say like Seinfeld aspect ratio. So they did macro photography on this, which is extremely close up.
So that they could get him as a little Ant-Man.
Yep, and everything else is really blurry, which actually that looks pretty nice in the movie.
No, I agree. Should you watch Seinfeld in the original aspect ratio 4:3?
4:3?
Or the newer widescreen 16:9 format?
Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh, this is a question. Should you watch it how it's originally intended? It's a sitcom. Get over it.
Yeah. I'm going to go with, let's just pretend I didn't
talk about it.
So Carpenter, this is the cinematographer said, wait, is it the cinematographer? Yes, okay, just making sure. This is another quote. So he said, vibration became a tremendous problem when some of it's quote, some of it's not. Anyway, said vibration became a tremendous problem when moving the camera during the macro photography because 1 inch off the ground is like 15 feet in the air. From an ant's perspective, you move 4 inches to a human perspective, that's a football field. The solution required the filmmakers to search for a creative solution. So they turned to Baller, that's a company, who had that's a person, sorry, who had a background in commercial tabletop photography. In order to add Paul Rudd's performance as Ant-Man when in the macro world, a Centroid facial capture setup was used with a 5-camera array of Alexas, that's a type of camera, surrounding Rudd. Rosenfeld explained 1 camera was set up vertically while the others were horizontal with overlapping image areas, all set to record at 48 frames per second. This maximized resolution and provided 3D modeling of Paul's performance. Reed would then call out story moments with Paul Rudd performing facial expressions that would later be composited on a CG Ant-Man. Entomologist Steven Kuchar provided suggestions to the filmmakers on how to film live ants.
Here's a question I have.
Okay.
First of all, when I hear that, I'm a little bummed because the movie was so bleh and so much hard work went into it. And it's so underwhelming.
Yeah.
Secondly, why do they need to get facial expressions when he's wearing a helmet anytime he's shrunk?
Let's talk
What's
about
the point?
That. Because I think his suit is okay. It's decent. It kind of looks like an ant to me.
Oh, I like the design a lot.
And I'm not in love with
okay.
it. I think it could be better. But there is...
I like how it's not super shiny.
That's nice. But there's a weird element, which is what you're talking about. And I was even noticing in the movie where it's like, when he's Ant-Man, he's just the little figure. And sometimes they would do these close-ups, and it's like, I can't really see what's being done.
I guess you can see his eyes, maybe?
Kind of. And it was like, if you really wanted us to get expression, you should have made his face, like, seeable. Like his whole face or something.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a weird choice.
A waste of money.
It almost seems like, why don't you just make him have goggles and we can't see in his face because we don't need to. I don't know. Because every time it cut, it was a little distracting to me when it cut to his minimized close-up face when he had the mask on. And I screamed every time.
You did. Bloody murder.
So that's the notes I got.
Cool.
At what point do we want to dive into On Cinema at the Cinema?
I need to go through mine before we even scratch the surface of that. Most of this episode is going to be dedicated to On Cinema, so let's just save it.
Okay.
So we already talked about Adam McKay, Joe Cornish. So Peyton Reed as a director has got a pretty interesting career leading up to Ant-Man.
Okay.
So he's done 13 episodes of the show Back to the Future. 13 episodes.
That's an animated show?
Yeah.
Okay.
13 episodes of the Weird Al show.
Weird Al had a show?
In 1997, I guess. And then he did 3 episodes of Mr. Show.
Like the Bob Odenkirk, David Cross show?
And then his first theatrical, director, whatever, Bring It On. The cheerleading
The
movie.
original?
Yeah. Bring It On.
Wow.
And then The Breakup. He did The Breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. And
haven't seen anything so far.
Yes Man in
Seen
2008.
that one.
And then he's done some other small things, but just a really odd career.
And so now he's done Ant-Man and Ant-Man
I feel like
and the
he was
Wasp.
a blank slate enough to direct this movie.
That's kind of what I think too.
And then Paul Rudd, I mean, I wrote down so much just to because it's so interesting to me that they chose Paul Rudd for this role because he was already so established as an actor.
Yeah.
And it'd be crazy if someone had not seen him in a movie.
Yeah, he's like a king of comedy at this point.
His first notable movie is Clueless, which he is wonderful in that movie. I freaking love Clueless. And he's a little bit of a heartthrob in the movie. I will say so.
Whoa.
You'll think so too when you finally watch it. I love that movie. He's in Halloween 6, Romeo plus Juliet, Cider House Rules, the 1999 one.
Okay.
Because I think
there's 2?
I guess so. There's a 1999 one. He's in Wet Hot American Summer. Yeah. He's in 18 episodes of Friends. I believe he dates. What's the weird one? Phoebe. I could totally be wrong about that, but I feel like he dates Phoebe for a while. Brad Pitt's also in that show. Do you know that?
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, obviously.
I think he dates someone.
Probably Jennifer Aniston. Come on.
Ugh. And then he's in Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Version, Night at the Museum, Role Models, I Love You Man, Dinner for Schmucks, Perks of Being a Wallflower, Anchorman 2, Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah, he does an extended run in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think that's the same year as Ant-Man is when he is that stuff's premiering in Parks and Rec. He received a Hollywood Star Walk of Fame before this movie. He was on the Hollywood Star.
So that means he's
made
established.
It.
Yeah.
I think that he was a good casting choice. I know we'll get into that, but it's just so interesting to me that they didn't get someone different
or just like a nobody.
Yeah. And then it kind of makes sense because I don't know. So then
you know what? Honestly, because of the way the movie turns out, Rudd's casting in this movie, it's not bad or really weird, but I could see how in a Edgar Wright movie, this casting would have been the best casting in Marvel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Were they already casted when he left the project?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they would have been about to film if they hadn't even started filming yet. So
interesting.
I see how in an Edgar Wright movie, he's got that, kind of like Michael Cera and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's in an Edgar Wright movie, it's perfect. But if someone else directs that movie, it's not. It probably misses a little bit, but he would still do a good job. That's what I'm saying.
Me?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Weird. So then you have Michael Douglas, who plays Pym. I don't remember his first name.
Hank Pym.
You
don't remember his first name?
So Michael Douglas has been in so much stuff, and
Huge.
The list is not as long as Paul Rudd's. However, he is much bigger than Paul Rudd.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote down things like Romancing the Stone, Fatal Attraction, and Wall Street in the same year. Basic Instinct, The Game.
Wait, in the same year he was in all three of those?
No. Sorry. Fatal Attraction and Wall Street. Just that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I realized that. Basic Instinct, The Game, which I still haven't seen.
Yeah, that's a David Fincher movie.
I know. Wonder Boys and Traffic, same year. You, Me, and Dupree. Wall Street, when Shia LaBeouf is in it.
Oh, yeah, the sequel. Yeah.
Then Las Vegas, 2013. That old fogey movie.
Oh yeah, that's got James Caan in it, the guy from.
Doesn't it have Morgan Freeman and
I don't think so.
Robert De Niro.
Are you thinking of? Oh, that movie.
I think it's that movie. Let me double check.
They're one last time in Vegas, and they're old now.
I hope I'm wrong.
I thought you were talking. You said that's 2013.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, it's not even popping up.
It's just called Vegas.
Hold on.
Or Leaving Vegas.
No, just Las Vegas, I think.
Because I think that was based off of a show, if I remember right.
Last Vegas.
Oh, okay.
That proves
okay.
it. That
okay.
throwing my phone. That proves that he's in that old fogey movie.
Old fogey movie. Okay. Well.
Anyway, let me just blaze through these other two people. Evangeline Lilly. First thing, Lizzie McGuire movie.
Wow.
Precious. And all she is like a cop. All her credit is just like cop or something.
Okay, so yeah.
And then Freddy versus Jason.
Wow.
She's in White Chicks. She's in Hurt Locker, which I feel like Hurt Locker is her real big first thing.
She's in Hurt Locker?
Apparently. And then Real Steel with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, the Bop It Boys.
And then Hobbit 2 and Hobbit 3.
Oh wow, the worst. Maybe
one of the worst.
Is she
characters.
the worst character in the like Lord of the Rings cinematic universe?
She might be. She's terrible. Her character's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Michael Pena.
Oh yeah.
Crash and $1 Million Baby in 2004. Babel, Shooter.
Oh,
30 minutes
Shooter.
or less. Tower Heist. End of Watch. Gangster Squad. Cesar Chavez, which came out before this movie.
Okay.
Like what I said.
Yeah.
And then I also wrote down Bobby Cannavale. I bet it's Cannavale.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't look him up because I was getting really tired last night.
Is he one of the crew?
He is the boyfriend of...
Oh, yeah, that guy who's in everything
and he's
ever.
just always just a treat.
He is
and
a
I'm
treat.
glad I didn't go through his acting credits. He's 105, and he's not even that old.
He's the guy, for the listener, that is Scott Lang / Paul Rudd's ex-wife's boyfriend or husband. Are they married?
No, they're not married.
Okay, yeah.
But he's just in so much stuff. A lot of this early stuff, I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Well, he was in the other guys.
He's in Law and Order.
He yells at Mark Wahlberg that he shot Jeter.
He's also in I, Tonya. He's in Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Wow.
Cool. He's just in like everything. And he is the guy. I feel like, there's always like an actor that's like, oh, that guy's always so good. I never remember his name.
Yeah.
And I kind of forget that he was in it right after I finished the movie. But he was the best part.
Guy, yeah.
He's that part, but you don't forget him.
Yeah.
Because he's so like magnetic.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. Yeah, I mean, he would be considered a character actor, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've seen him in enough stuff to make that call.
Okay. Well, on that note, you want to jump into the movie?
Sure.
Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention is Edgar Wright has cited the fact that he left this project is the reason that he got around to making Baby Driver.
Oh.
So if you look at it that way, I'm okay with him.
And John Hamm's
left.
in that movie, so.
And it's a great movie.
Thanks.
Okay. So here we are. The movie. Oh, should we talk about On Cinema?
No,
or should
wait.
We do
We
that
gotta
at the end?
get to that part.
Okay.
We have to get to that part.
I'm just excited to get to that part. So, the movie starts in 1989, and Hank Pym goes into like a Shield, like
Just
early
like one
days
of the worst,
Shield.
one of the worst set designs you've ever
And
seen.
It's so boring looking.
Yeah, I think it's like a TV show set.
It's
with
got
all
to be
the
from
lighting.
like Agents of Shield, right?
That would make sense.
But it's really bad looking.
Oh, so bad.
And he.
But for CGI de-aging.
Yes.
In the Marvel universe.
And it looks okay.
I think it looks pretty good.
I think the lips are a little.
I
odd.
said when we were watching the movie, like it is noticeable compared to like now.
Like the Sam Jackson and.
But it's not ridiculous.
Yeah. I bought it. I mean, literally, I Redboxed this movie, so I bought it.
You did?
The first time I watched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who'd you watch it with?
By myself. And I really was upset about it.
That's
I was
a bummer.
really upset about it.
I saw it in theaters.
That's a better.
With my dad, my sister, and my brother, I think. And I only got really excited one time, and we're getting there.
Yeah, we're almost there because it's right at the beginning. But yeah, so in this, they talk about how there's this Pym particle that you don't really know what it is. Of course, later we'll find out it shrinks people, and
these people
Howard Stark wants to like use it.
Yes.
And then the other guy wants to weaponize it.
Yes.
Who will
that was Howard Stark?
Yes.
Okay, wait.
So there are 2 actors.
That was the first original actor?
That's the like Walt Disney Howard Stark.
Okay, that's what I would
guy.
thought. He looked really different, first of all. Why are they using him again? Because he's older?
Because it's 89. And the other Howard Stark is in the 40s.
That is so crazy to me.
Yeah, we talked about that in First Avenger.
I mean, I get like using the same actor because I'm watching and I'm like, oh, I think like I remember this person.
So he's in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
So he's the first time we see Howard Stark. And then the next movie that comes out was the Dominic guy who looks like he's from like Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah.
And then
who we said actually looks kind of more like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, and he does a great job.
Yeah.
But it's so weird because they established the other guy.
This other guy, like, I don't think you can get any wider than this guy in terms of, like, average looking.
Yeah.
So then they go back to...
Yeah, so now
that's so confusing.
I think he's in the rest of them. Because he's in Endgame, Howard Stark.
Okay.
Remember, because Tony, like, sees him.
Yeah.
So, I wish you could see Jordan's face. She's, like, so confounded by that. It's very funny because the universe is so, like, tight. And they hardly make mistakes, but when they do, it feels like they're really like, huh? Like,
they're really confusing.
How is that a mistake? So then you kind of see that there's something weird going on, and then it's like present day. Paul Rudd gets out of jail.
He's been in prison for like 5 years.
Yeah, he's a cat burglar.
Yes,
or should I say an ant burglar?
Yes,
and his first scene, he's like being kind of quippy. It's fine.
Well, he gets out and he's really, he's like, I'm going to like be an honest person now, and I'm gonna like earn money honestly, and because you see early on like he has a daughter who is adorable.
Yeah,
very good child actress.
Yeah, she does good.
She's so cute, and you see that like it's a very strained relationship between like that's his ex-wife for sure. Like they didn't get married or anything.
Yeah,
we're just gonna call her his ex-wife.
Yeah,
but like it's clear that they don't really want him, like they're uncomfortable with him being around because he's a criminal.
Yeah.
And I think they are concerned that they're, they don't want that influence around their daughter. And that's kind of like, it
seems like he's flaky
and he's flaky, which makes sense because he was in prison for 5 years for like basically being a flaky person.
He didn't hang out at the house for 5 years. What a flake.
Yeah. Dude, come on. So
he gets a job at
Baskin-Robbins.
And
is before that, which is a really funny scene, that kid is like, "Hey, a burger." It's like, "No, this is Baskin-Robbins."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, okay. What about a hot dog?" "No, this is ice cream. It's cold stuff." And he's like,
"How about
just anything hot?"
Yeah, anything hot or fresh. Or...
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
It was pretty good. And then he gets called into the back. And
by his manager.
And the manager proceeds to, and he's acting very odd.
Yeah.
Like kind of bad acting.
Yeah.
In a little bit. And he's saying how...
He's very stiff.
He's saying how it's cool that he's a cat burglar and he's not going to tell anyone. And then Paul's like, "Oh, that's so awesome." And then he goes, "But of course you're fired."
Yeah.
But, if you want to, you can take one of those fruit berry smoothies and I'll look the other way.
Yeah.
So it's a very funny scene, and it's the highlight of the entire movie.
And it's because this is an Easter egg that I think a lot of people probably don't know exists.
Yeah, and it's I mean, how do we want to even begin?
Okay, there is this show on YouTube.
Well, part
of Adult Swim called On Cinema at the Cinema. And it's
I'm just laughing thinking about it.
It's Tim Heidecker is the host, Greg Turkington is his guest.
Yes.
Greg Turkington is the manager of the Baskin-Robbins. Like that is he is acting as the manager.
Yes.
So, I mean, On Cinema is like how many seasons?
I think there are 10 now.
Like 10 seasons.
And then there's the Decker.
And the whole thing is they review movies. But
it's this weird like comedy show.
Yeah.
Where Tim Heidecker is playing a fictionalized version of himself that's this crazy egomaniac that's obsessed with like all natural remedies and like doing these weird things, and then Greg Turkington,
and then being in a band
later in this series. If you are a fan of any semblance of comedy, watch it all.
Yeah,
because it will provide you. I mean, there is literally a 4-hour trial because things get pretty bad in the later seasons that is filmed in a courtroom with a judge, with a jury. It's the most insane comedy show
it
ever made.
It does get to a point where you're like, how much of this is a joke now?
It's crazy.
And it does. They do Oscar specials where for like the past couple Oscars, they will be having a live stream of their own, like them celebrating the Oscars. And it usually always ends up with Tim getting really drunk and screaming at people.
And like throwing stuff
at
Greg.
Greg.
Because they have this really destructive relationship.
And what's funny is this is Tim's show, but he, for some reason, always has Greg as the guest. And Greg is a film buff. He really has no credentials.
But he watches a lot of VHS tapes.
And he's really, really prideful about being such a big movie buff. He's not a movie reviewer professionally.
And his movie reviews are horrible. He loves every single thing.
It's always 5 bags of popcorn for every movie.
Yeah. So then, I know we're setting the table here, but I think it's worth it. Because it's the most interesting part of this movie. On one of the Oscar specials, they have a director on, and that director's name is Peyton Reed, the director of Ant-Man. So while the Oscars are going on, this director... And so I just want to preface it with saying, even though I don't like the 2 Ant-Man movies, because he did this joke, I'm okay with him. I'm like absolutely okay with him, and I would be like excited to meet him.
Yeah.
So Peyton Reed shows up as a guest on the Oscar special, and they talk about how he filmed a scene with Greg Turkington, and Tim Heidecker is so mad about it.
Yeah.
He is so angry. And so then the movie comes out, and Greg's on it, and they have like Twitter fights.
He's like at the premiere. Like Greg's at the premiere.
I forgot about that. And he's just saying how I can't believe they did that. Because they incorporated it into their whole show and like their Twitter, and then Tim's getting all mad. And then later, if you'll remember, in 2015, in September, a movie called Fantastic Four came out. And in that movie, Tim Heidecker was able to get a small, about 10-second part in the movie. So for the next year, they were arguing about which movie was better. And it was very funny because Greg's movie was critically accepted and people loved it.
Yes, that's right.
And Tim Heidecker's movie was reviled by everyone.
And
critics, audiences, everyone.
And you and I have had several conversations about like, okay, Tim and Greg and Eric run Hollywood.
They secretly run it.
There's got to be... I mean, that's had to have been planned to some degree. Like, was Tim like scout? Like, does he get like early like readings of things, or did he contact his agent and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for these kind of things."
We
like,
should
keep your
ask
eye
next
out.
time he does office hours. We should ask how they did that.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just too convenient for the show that you were like, this had to have been scripted somehow.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it is scripted. Like I'm sure Big Picture.
Yeah.
It's kind of scripted. So like. How does the Tim's movie bomb when classically Tim does bomb in the show, and then Greg does like okay, and he usually just does like okay.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And it's like Tim or Greg deserves it too.
Yeah,
he's like earned it, and Tim hasn't. Oh my gosh! It's
and
so
then
funny.
Also flashing forward, just so we finish our whole on cinema thing, is in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Tim Heidecker has a cameo in the movie.
Yes,
and then. Last year, he was tweeting a lot about how Marvel had decided to make, because he's just a whaler on a boat in the movie who has like one line of dialogue, and he was tweeting a bunch about how like they were starting a whole the Whale Man franchise in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So it's just the funniest thing, and thanks for listening, everybody. Rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, and that was On Cinema at the Cinema. Okay, so we're back in the movie.
And the extreme high gives way to an extreme low.
Well, then...
I wouldn't say extreme.
We cut to... There's that guy from House of Cards, the bald guy in this movie, who's the villain. And he has Hank...
I guess I probably should have looked him up.
Yeah, that's okay. But he's in House of Cards. There's his credit.
No one's watching House of Cards who's listens to this podcast.
Well, that's true. So he shows up. He's on the scene. He works at Hank's old like science factory, and he invites Hank to see because he's going to premiere this technology. And while they're there, he shows some footage of the mythical Ant-Man, who lived back in the day, and you're seeing old black and white footage of people being fought in wars by
a tiny man. And like tiny meaning, like you guessed it, ant size.
Ant size. And then let's see. So during this, they find out that he wants to weaponize this suit and like make a new kind of utopia of like protectors that are ant-sized people. Which this is just kind of a funny concept to me because it's like, I guess if you could shrink someone, you could do a lot of damage in war, but it also just feels like such an unnecessary like scientific development.
Well, they explained that I'm going to totally butcher it, but once you shrink, you still like have the same strength
as if you were
big, which makes your strength like stronger. Proportionately, it's much stronger than even a human at that point.
Yeah.
Still doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. So,
but that's their excuse. Also, it does make sense when later on in the movie, Michael Douglas talks about what really happened to his wife, and the mission that they're doing makes sense.
That makes sense.
An Ant-Man.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of like it's like this movie's trying so hard to be like scientific that I wish it was less scientific so that it could be more fun and just goofy.
And that is the downfall of this movie and Ant-Man 2. They keep using big words, scientific stuff to explain it all. Like children are watching this. Like,
yeah, it's just kind of like there's definitely elements in the Iron Man movies that is science-based, but it's still kind of like, of course we all know this is really more fantasy than it is sci-fi.
Also, it's more visual. Like there's a lot more to show.
And in this, it's like, you have the proportional strength of an ant, and so you have to learn how to blankety blank. And then if you do this with the quantum blankety blank, then you can do this.
They're just using a lot of dialogue to explain it.
And it's just like, I don't know. I wish that the movie was a little, just more fun.
Yeah.
My like pull quote for this movie is, it's not fun enough to be a superhero movie. It's not funny enough to be a comedy, and it's not heisty enough to be, or it doesn't have like the twists and turns that it's a heist movie.
Yeah, it doesn't know what it is.
So it's just like kind of three different genres, but not in a fun way.
And the heist stuff, which are like 30-second sequences both times, are like the best part.
Could have been so cool.
Yeah, they were so interesting, and it's like, do you understand the huge missed opportunity to do that?
Yeah. So let me go back to my note here. Then we find out that Evangeline Lilly, she is
Hope.
Hope. She's the daughter of Hank Pym.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, he's weaponizing this stuff. We have to break in, and we got to steal it. Which is a nice setup for a heist movie, which they will just dabble in and not commit to. So she is like, oh my gosh, I'm totally lost my train of thought. But she also works with the bad guy.
Yeah,
so she's I can do it.
She became estranged from her father because he never told her how her mom disappeared / died. So she continued to work on stuff and not be with him. And then when she realized it was all bad, she went back to him. So then Paul Rudd.
Well, and I just want to say something really quick. I know we find out later it's because of her mom, but just because of the way the movie goes, I wrote the reason Lily can't do the heist, because Hank says she can't, is just because the script needs her to.
Yeah, pretty much.
It really feels contrived.
I mean,
it doesn't feel
they do
real.
Put it on the like, you're my daughter, you're the last one I have, I can't lose you.
Yeah, but
that's the excuse.
They have like 4 days to like stop it from getting out, and so they're like, we got to train this other guy.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yep, it's quite the bummer. So then Paul Rudd's friends are like, we got a job, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And then it's like, then he ends up doing it. So then he ends up stealing the Ant-Man suit.
Yeah.
And you find out that Hank Pym planted it for him because he wanted him to steal it, because he's known him for a while. He's a cat burglar and has been successful despite not being, because he was in prison. But that's why he wants to use him. So when Paul Rudd first puts on the Ant-Man suit and shrinks by accident,
that's a sweet sequence.
Yeah, that's
and it's
cool.
like, am I gonna love this movie now? because he's like in the bathtub and the water flows.
Then he's in the rave,
flying.
like the club downstairs.
Yeah, he goes into the rave. He's like hanging on to the ridges of a vinyl record.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Really, really cool.
I think
his facial reactions were great too.
And he gets in a vacuum and stuff. Like literally
Yes.
someone vacuums him up, which is all fun stuff. But during the sequence, and this is my first fix of the movie, is Michael Douglas is talking to him and he's like, see, like not so easy, or he's saying weird stuff to him and he has no idea who the person is. So my fix for the movie is you commit to the heist, you make him breaking into Hank's house a little bit more complicated, and then you get rid of everything that has Hank Pym in the beginning of the movie. And then when he hears him on his headphones while he's a miniature person, you're like, is that Michael Douglas? And then they get Ant-Man, they recruit him, and then he goes, here's how I did it. And then there's a flashback, and he shows how he tricked Paul Rudd into getting the suit and how he got him to where he is now. Because that's like the trope of a heist movie, is you like do something and you think it's going a certain way, and then there's like a twist, and the twist is revealed through them showing you what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
And if that had happened, oh boy. And you get rid of like that stupid flashback at the beginning that really doesn't add anything to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could get into the villain after that. So I just had to go off on that.
No, you're right. I have nothing to contribute.
So then at this point, the villain is experimenting, shrinking little sheep.
How specific are we really going to be here?
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we ended the movie and we were just like, we've seen this movie so many times.
Yeah.
And
well,
I guess I'm just really frustrated with this movie.
Yes.
Because it's just like nothing's new.
It could be fun.
Yeah.
One thing I'll note though is something about having Michael Douglas in the movie gives it like weird validity to me. Okay. And that was a smart casting choice.
I think so too.
When he's talking about stuff, you're like, yeah, I guess you can talk to answer that receptor. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because
the
he's
receptor
just like,
thing. So like when they're training Paul Rudd accepts.
Yeah.
Because I think he basically he's like, I will help you with your daughter. Like,
yeah,
help you with all of that if you help me. One of those classic things. So he's training Paul Rudd on everything. And one of the things he's training on is like controlling basically ants' minds, because ants, like hive mind. It's like one brain. So Michael Douglas has created something to like be the brain, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. And when Paul Rudd was trying to use it, it was so annoying because Hope or Evangeline Lilly was like, there should be no lies, because he couldn't get it to work. Like, no lies. Like, you have to totally commit. You have to like be I'm paraphrasing, like be the better person of who you are. And it's like, he just needs to tell an ant to put a sugar cube in a cup of tea.
And then in the next scene when she actually gives him real advice, he just gets it right. And so it's like, he didn't like come to grips with who he was before that. I don't.
Well, it was more for her. Like, she changed in that scene.
And I'm not blaming the actress.
No.
But it's just like, okay.
It really felt like they needed a girl there.
Yeah.
So she's there. Also, she's there to be a love interest.
Yeah, and then the other thing, they do the thing that we talked about in Guardians. One of the few things that I don't like about Guardians, which actually they pull it off in that one though, is they take a very famous actor that is famously funny and whatnot, and for some reason they make that actor bulk up and get a six-pack. There's a six-pack shot.
Do you have a problem with that with Chris Pratt?
Of Paul Rudd and Chris Pratt, and I'm like, if they get in shape, it's fine. Don't give me like the hot shot of them.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt's isn't too bad because he's like hosed down, but it's still like, look at how big this guy is. Like, he bulked up for this. Yep. And it's like, like Scott Aukerman says, why does Ant-Man have to have abs? How come Paul Rudd has to have abs? And if they're so concerned, why don't they just CGI it on? Because who cares?
Yep.
And then
go back to do what they did in 300 and spray painted it on.
It's just kind of annoying. So Cross's experiment goes well. Exposition is boring to me on this movie.
So it starts working. They're like, okay, now we need to steal it from him because it's worked, and now he's gonna have this huge presentation, and all these people are gonna sell it and use it for war. So that's their motivation is to take that away from them.
But before they do that, they have to steal, and this part is probably the second best part of the movie, besides Greg Turkington, is. They're like, hey, there's this old Stark building. You just need to go there, Ant-Man Red, and steal this little component, shrink it down, and then we're going to put it in there. It'll explode, and then we've defeated the villain Cross. Mm-hmm. So he's flying above it, and he's jumping out of a plane. Or no, he's flying on an ant that he named Antony.
By the way, all of the ant animation's great.
Yeah, the ants
really
look
cool.
so good.
Yeah.
But he's flying down, and then he's like, oh, that's Avengers headquarters.
Yeah.
Kind of cool, and then Falcon's there.
It's now cool because Falcon's badass.
Yeah,
Before
we
that,
like
was
Falcon
like,
now.
Oh, they couldn't afford anyone else. They had to get Falcon, which is definitely the case. Yeah. But it's like, cool, Falcon's in it.
Yeah, now we're a pro-Falcon family.
We're pro-Falcon family.
On your left.
Yeah, I get it.
So then they like fight, and he's able to steal the thing, and then once again, I mean, we don't actually see him steal it, which is kind of like he just fights Falcon, and that part's kind of cool. It's kind of fun, but then
because it's really confusing.
It should be like a heist movie, so why don't we see him going in there and stealing it?
Yeah, I don't know.
The stealing is the fun part.
It's interesting to think that because it's like this whole thing happened, and you have to think that the Avengers now think that this thing is a threat.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting
Which I think in the next movie they kind of touch on. Oh no, at the end of the teaser, remember? Before at the
they
post-credit
wanted to find
scene,
out who it was to like maybe use him.
Well, Falcon is talking to Captain America, and he's like, I know a guy who might be able to help us.
Yes.
And the assumption is he's talking about Ant-Man.
Yes.
So that part's pretty good, and then they finally go to the heist.
And who do they bring but Paul Rudd's crew, Michael Pena, T.I., and the other guy.
Yeah, the guy from Prisoners.
who is one of those people who pops up in a lot of movies, and he's usually really, really great. He's total character actor.
Yeah.
For a lot of things, because he's usually really creepy. I guess he's not in this one, but he's usually a really creepy person.
I don't dig him in this one, though.
Oh, no, it's awful, because he's a Russian for no reason. And he has the terrible Russian accent. But,
yeah.
Not that Russian accents are terrible. They do the stereotypical Russian accent.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm sure that accent is out there, but it's just kind of like, if you're going to, I don't know, I feel like hire a Russian to do that accent. And then I would feel better about it, because I feel like the Russian accent, everyone just goes to like...
They just take out little words, and it's fine.
I don't know. It's real... I don't know. I don't get it. It's weird.
Yeah, so that was disappointing, because I usually get excited when I see that actor, and he was just bad.
Well, and I think he's also playing it too straight.
Yeah.
Like everyone else,
they're like the comedic relief is this crew.
Yeah, and Michael Pena's being like very fast talking and goofy, and the other guy's being really goofy as well. And then he's like, "I am the straight man."
No, he would say, "I am straight man."
I am straight man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because for some, I don't know. I don't.
So they're helping them get into the building undetected, because there's a lot of stuff they got to go through, hoops they got to jump through, which they don't show us in a heist way. They just take us along for the ride in real time.
And if they did it in the heist way, again, they would have like shown us a couple things. Something would have gone wrong. Then we get out, and they're like, "Oh, but wait a second," and then it's like, and then you see how it actually went down, and then you're like, "Whoa, that was so cool! They tricked me." But in this, they're just like, "Okay, we did it." And then I have a tank that I made big, and we escaped.
Yeah. So, of course, the plan doesn't go completely according to plan, like most movies. And Michael Douglas...
What if there was a movie where they... where there was just... Which is kind of a heist movie sometimes. But, like, it was very straightforward, and they're like, we really need to go in there and stop this. And the whole movie, they're, like, building up to this, and they go in there, and they just do it exactly how they said they'd do it, and they come out, and they're like, we did it.
That would be great. That reminds me of Community, when they're trying to get the school back from Chang, and they do a heist. They do a heist episode.
That's right. Yes.
And it's so funny because
didn't the Russo brothers direct that one?
I don't know.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
But
Sorry.
it's like at the end of their plan, and it like seemed to be working. They have Dean with him, who had been held hostage.
Yeah.
And then I think Chang catches them, and the whole time Pierce is trying to do this really racist Indian character.
That's right.
And what's funny is they told him no, like they told him what his job was. He showed up as the racist Indian character anyway, but they had planned for it, and it like actually worked for their plan.
They did a high. So you have a problem when a show is making fun of something and it does it better than you.
Yeah.
Because they did a heist in that, and then they're like, this is actually what happened.
Yeah.
And it goes back and shows you what actually happened, and you're like, they did it. They did the heist.
Which was so exciting, even though this is like a 22-minute comedy show. Anyway, so what happens is...
We really don't like it, the Ant-Man movie.
Bald guy, bad guy, gets in a helicopter. Ant-Man gets with him, and then they start fighting, and they're both tiny. And this is kind of cool. They're in his briefcase fighting as the briefcase is like falling from the sky.
This stuff I like a lot.
The sequence is cool. Villain could not be more forgettable to me.
And I think he's playing it so big.
Yeah.
Like he's not laughing, but he's just being like... He's just short of looking at the camera and being like,
yeah.
And it's annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying.
Because he's not doing it in an interesting new way. It's just what we've seen
He's
before.
just like, I am your classic bad guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess that's what we've asked for in this movie. So they end up back at Paul Rudd's daughter's room, I guess.
Oh, but before that, they plop into a little pool, and the sound effect is very small, which is funny. And then Ant-Man punches him, and he goes into like a electric fly catcher.
Yeah, and that's funny.
And I really wish, and I think a funnier move for the movie and a better move is that character dies from that.
Yeah,
like he got shrunk to an ant and he died from that. Not that it powers up his suit and he becomes stronger.
Yeah, which was
Also, another thing. Before that, Cross sold the weapons to Hydra, and in like an off comment, they're like, "Yeah, so."
Oh, I didn't even
stuff.
notice that. I had checked out
like,
by
we're
then.
actually from Hydra, whatever. And didn't
get over it, Hydra?
Yeah, didn't they get rid of Hydra in Winter Soldier?
I thought.
So what's weird is within the same phase and without like any rebuilding or anything, and the same movie.
And
so
Hydra was
Winter
in
Soldier,
Ultron too.
Yeah, was it?
Wasn't Hydra? Oh wait, no.
No, so in Winter Soldier,
no, Hydra was because the beginning of the movie, weren't those twins like with Hydra?
Oh,
because I think we were talking about it. I think
you're
then.
right. Yeah, because at the end of Winter Soldier, there's that. I don't know. I just think
they just undid a movie.
It's annoying that Winter Soldier fought to like get rid of Hydra and Shield, and within the same franchise, like a year later, they got rid of both of those things.
Yeah.
And they just were like, actually, we take that back. Which I know is like a comic book thing to do, but it makes me detach from the Shield Hydra storyline because it's just kind of like, oh, it's that thing that they destroy and then it just comes back or whatever. I don't know. And I know that in the next movie, it's like all about Hydra being in it because the next movie's Captain America. Civil War, and so that's a little frustrating to me.
It is frustrating
as like a series whole.
Yeah.
But then they have that fight scene in Paul Rudd's daughter's room,
which is cool because they're not playing. They're fighting on a toy train set, and whenever the train runs into the bad guy, and you know huge explosion, but it's just a Tom. What is it?
The like Tommy train or. That's not right. Something train. Thomas the train.
Thomas the train. It just falls over. Like it shows a big normal size and it just topples over, which is great.
But then for some reason, Cross's suit makes a Star Wars sound.
Yeah.
It's like it does the I think it's an AT-AT Walker, which is what you said, and I was very proud of you. I'm pretty sure it's that. It could be a TIE fighter. I'm sure Mike Combs is going to listen to this.
Is a TIE fighter the X one? The X plane?
The TIE fighter is like the Imperial's planes in the
that are X's.
No, those are X-wings. Those are Rebel planes.
Okay, we're not talking about Star Wars right now.
But
people are gonna think that I hate that movie. That movie. There's so many.
But Mike, let us know.
Yeah.
What is the actual vehicle?
with that sound effect.
Yes. And then he goes subatomic, which he's not supposed to because it maybe killed Hank Pym's wife, but we don't know. Maybe that sets up the next movie.
But he has to go subatomic to get into the guy's suit to like dismantle it, destroy it, which is cool when he does because like
cool visuals.
It
really
obliterates.
Cool visuals.
I guess obliterate's not even the right word. I think it makes him go into that.
Yeah,
because it shrinks him smaller and smaller and smaller. Looks very painful though.
It did. That was a pretty cool effect. I liked.
Yeah,
that.
I liked it too. But then Paul Rudd makes it back because he has to, and his daughter's fine. Bad guy's gone. There's a giant ant now, which is like a dog, and I'm into it.
That's kind of weird.
It's cool. And I like ants now.
Yeah, and then the movie's over, and then the post-credit scene we already talked about. But then one of the other post-credit scenes is Evangeline Lilly gets her suit.
Oh yeah.
And they tease the Wasp, and she does this really weird thing where her facial expression does like 4 or 5 different things, and it's really weird.
Yeah.
So that's the movie. I think we discussed about everything we could about the movie.
Yes.
We don't like it.
No.
But before we go, we gotta rank the Phase 2 movies.
Okay.
So I'll go first.
Okay.
Bottom of the pack, Ant-Man. Number 5, Thor: The Dark World. Number 4, Avengers: Age of Ultron for me. Number 3, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Number 2, Iron Man 3. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would just switch Ultron with Winter Soldier.
That's
Wait,
what
was
was
your
expecting.
third one?
That was Winter Soldier.
What was your second one? No. Third from the bottom.
Third from the bottom was Ultron.
Okay. Yeah, I would switch that.
You
Iron
keep
Man 3 was
at,
cool.
Yeah, at 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Man 3 is great. That's the like Guardians just held up like nothing else. But Iron Man 3 is the like that's the underdog I think of Phase 2.
Yeah.
So next week we start to learn about that green ugly ogre. We're jumping into Shrek and we're doing all 4 movies. No, wait, 5 because Puss in Boots is in that series as well. We're getting our boot on. We're getting our Shrek on. Let's go be hey now you're an all-star. Thank you for listening.
I'm not excited.
I am excited. I think we're going to really rip it to shreds. I think this will be the first franchise that we don't like completely.
Well,
don't
see,
like.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I might still like it just because it's for nostalgia.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah, just make sure to rate and just show a friend.
Yeah, show a friend.
That's our goal each week.
Tell a friend that a podcast is going to cover the Shrek franchise. Who wouldn't listen to that?
I know, seriously. It's August. You need Shrek.
Bye.